here at Central Middle School. This is Principal Greg Potter. And he comes to us from Maine, all the way from Maine, north. That's right. So I just wanted to make sure for you parents here who have students who attend Central Middle School that you kind of put a name to a face if you haven't already. And he would love for you to come and visit anytime.
Absolutely.
Anytime.
Absolutely. And I came from the north, though some people tried to pin Hurricane Erica on me because I was arriving about the same time. I had a very good defense. It was the opposite direction. Welcome, everybody. We're very glad that you're here tonight. You're taking time to come out and focus on a very important topic near and dear to many of our hearts, especially if you have youngsters who like to use the internet and social media and so forth. It's an interesting landscape out there for sure. I raised 3 children myself, and there were certainly times during those years where, as a parent, I needed a little help, a little assistance in terms of how to properly supervise that, how to know what's going on, and how to keep my children safe. And fortunately, I survived it without too many major bumps in the road. So I want to thank Officer Hairstoff for coming out here tonight and offering this opportunity to you. I know that he's a very busy individual. He's working extra and overtime, working in the schools and helping out the department, and we really appreciate that. So thank you for doing this with us tonight. I really appreciate it. Welcome to everybody, and I really hope you get a lot out of this tonight, and that you do one important thing when you're done. Spread the word so that the effect of what you find out and what you learn about has this sort of rippling effect, and other people become influenced by it as well in a positive manner, because we really can't be vigilant enough with our kids and trying to keep them very safe in everything that they do. So thank you, Officer. I'll turn it back over to you.
Just 3 other people I want to recognize that are here tonight, and for you to go and speak to them after we're done. And on the far, as you first walked in, Leslie Breimer. She is the director of the West Melbourne Police Athletic League. We have a lot of students, most recently, coming from Central, being a part of this. Also, Pam is here from Taylor for Teens, a wonderful organization that can provide resources for you as parents. And then Eric is here also from Crosswinds, another great organization in our community in Brevard County that offers wonderful resources for parents and students. So please make sure that if you haven't touched base with them, pick up something over there, a resource that they have, connect with them if you think that they can be a resource to you. I also put a bunch of resources up front here on different topics. Resources will sit in my office unless somebody takes them. Unless somebody takes them, they do no good to anybody. So please help yourself to anything you see over here. Take as much as you want. Give it to as many people as you want. Please, that's the reason it's here. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit, a lot, about teens, social media, and technology. Who and what has access to your child? This is very scary for a lot of us as parents. This is a little in my information here. I'll have it again at the end. So if you don't want to write it down now, that's fine. I'll have it at the end also. A little bit about me. I've only been a police officer since 2012. But prior to that, I was a youth director from 1998 to 2012. So I've been working with students for a very long time. And with each year, I feel older and older. I am a husband and a father of 2 boys myself. And so I know how precious our children are, and we want to make sure that we keep them safe. A quick survey to kind of get us started. I want to kind of poll the audience here a little bit. How many parents here have a cell phone? Raise your hand. Pretty much, I'm guessing everybody, right? How many parents have a student who has a cell phone? Raise your hand. Pretty much about everybody, okay. How many parents have a social media account? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? Okay. Very good. And how many of your students have a social media account? Okay, almost most of you, yes. How many hours a day would you say that you are on your phone, texting, or socializing? Raise your hand. 1, maybe 2, 3, 4. The thing is glued to your ear or your face? Okay, all right. How many hours do you think your students, keep your hand up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 24 hours? Okay, I see a few hands. All right. There's a couple of roles that I want you to kind of be aware of and think about as we talk this evening. And I'm getting these three roles from Lieutenant Dave Grossman, if you're familiar with him. And the first role is the sheep. Okay, the second role is the sheepdog, and the third role is the wolf. And how does this relate to you and I? Well, the sheep. These are our children. Okay, these are our children growing up. They go about their own business. They're trusting for the most part, and they're kind of unaware about the things that are going on around them. And a lot of times, we as parents, we fall into this sheep category. We kind of, we're kind of following along with our students, unaware, not really paying attention to the things around us. And really, as parents, we need to be sheepdogs. If you want to be a sheepdog and walk the warrior's path, then you must make the conscious and moral decision every day to dedicate, equip, and prepare yourself to thrive in that toxic, corrosive moment when the wolf comes knocking at the door. And, I think some parents do a good job of this, and there are a lot of parents that really just don't know that they need to be sheepdogs. And a lot of times we're the unaware guardian. We think, it's not my kid. It can't be. I'm not worried about it, or, we'll be fine. We'll be fine, we're good with what we got. But the issue is there's the wolf out there. And the wolf comes to do three things. It comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And this is why we need to be sheepdogs as parents. Because we don't want the wolf getting a hold of our sheep. How many remember the days of this? Okay? The big brick phone, Saved by the Bell, Zach Morris, yep. Or, I was thinking about this today, or the shops that sold just these. You remember this? And they had them in different colors, they had really cool cases. We don't have this anymore. We have this. This is what we have. We have walking computers with access to anything and everything you could ever imagine at your fingertips and your students' fingertips. But there's some pros to having cell phones, right? Instant communication, 911 in case of an emergency, getting directions if you're lost, knowing where your current location is, to take and share pictures, and it can teach responsibility, especially for our students. And for some of us, that's an expensive responsibility, as much as cell phones cost these days. But there's also some concerns that we have with cell phones, right? Who is my child talking or texting to? Is my child sending and receiving sensitive pictures and videos? What types of social media does my child use that I don't know about? And what is my child looking at on the internet? Just a couple of studies here, and if you help me out, if you believe this is right, just raise your hand for me, that 92% are online daily. Yes? 74% of teenagers aged 12 to 7 have access to smartphones. Yeah? 71% of teens use more than one social networking site. Just a couple of graphs. As you can see, this is from 2015, the Pew Research Center. It says that Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, along with Twitter, are the four most used social medias. This isn't probably a surprise to most of you who are aware of what social medias are out there. But this surprised me. If you look to the top, it says girls dominate visually oriented social media platforms. That surprised me. Because I would think, as a male, that men are more visually, they're more visual than women. But this contradicts my thought there. That girls actually by 61 to 44% use Instagram, 51 to 31 Snapchat, and other platforms. Some more research, 80 to 90% of students take their cell phone to school. How many would say that? I can tell you it's probably even higher. Here at Central Middle School, I can probably count on two hands how many students don't take their cell phones to school. 81% of teens access the internet through game consoles. Some of you may have not thought about that. While a majority of teens, 90%, say that their parents trust them to be responsible online, 45% say they would change something about their online behavior if their parents were watching. Almost 70% of youth admit to hiding online activity. That's admit. You know, that's not the other 30%. If you ever watch House, everybody lies, right? Only 61% of teens use privacy settings on their social media sites, while more than half of teens do not pay attention about what apps have access to the location. Just a few more here. A recent study based off of the addiction of cell phones found teenagers who cannot limit their use are faced with sleep disturbances, anxiety, and even depression. And text messaging has become the dominant mode of communication with teens. Probably not surprising to any of you, right? Does this surprise anybody? No. Well, I threw this in here because Mr. Potter's here. So just so you know, school cell phone policy, off and out of sight. School discipline is really anything from a warning to out-of-school suspension. Actually, it's even more depending on what a student may do with their phone, where they could just be booted out. So it's important that we talk to our students about the importance of this. Texting, 90% of teen cell phone owners use text messaging either directly through their mobile phones or through an app or website. We'll talk a little bit more about what those apps are. 1/3 of teens with cell phones use messaging apps like Kik and WhatsApp. Bullying online. Is it a crime? Anybody?
Yes.
Yes? Well, the bullying word isn't found anywhere in the statute, but cyber stalking is. It's found under the stalking statute 784-4H. Cyber stalk means to engage in any course of conduct to communicate or to cause to be communicated words, images, or language by or through the use of electronic mail, electronic communication directed at a specific person, causing substantial emotional distress to that person and serving no legitimate purpose. This is basically the same definition of stalking, but with an electronic element. So the next question would be, is if my student is a victim or is the subject of a cyber stalking investigation or crime, what does that mean? I mean, do they get a ticket and they have to go and pay a fine? Or, well, it's actually a lot more severe than that. The first offense is a first-degree misdemeanor. And the second one, after the first-degree misdemeanor, they get an injunction, meaning you're not allowed to communicate with them anymore. If they violate that, it becomes a third-degree felony. We're talking about teenagers. This isn't just subject to adults who are 18 and over. This is teenagers. Any offense pertaining to cyber stalking involving a credible threat, meaning that if I say that I'm going to go and cause harm to you in some form or fashion, and it's credible, meaning that I live in proximity to you, I'm not texting Mr. Potter in Maine saying I'm going to harm you. You know, that's not credible. But if I know Johnny down the street and he lives 4 houses down from me, and I'm texting saying, hey, you know what? I'm gonna mess you up. I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and it may cause great bodily harm. Then we get into a credible threat, and that's a third-degree felony. And then this one's for students, because you have to understand that a victim is under the age of 16 years of age, it's a third-degree felony. So if a 14 and a 15-year-old, and I can't speak for the state attorney's office, but if a 15-year-old is cyber stalking another 15-year-old, it's a third-degree felony. It doesn't have to be a credible threat, and it doesn't have to have more than one offense. It's an automatic, because of their age, it's an automatic third-degree felony. Who is texting or calling your child? Is your child posting or sharing your number, home address online, or giving it to acquaintances? And you'd be surprised, I'm going to show you a video in a few moments where this actually happens, and the reaction to the parents. And a little bit about sexting. Anybody here ever heard the word sexting before? Yes? Okay. Some examples of sexting. These are funny, okay? They're supposed to be made funny. So sext me later. No, Mom, that would be kind of awkward. Oh my God, I meant text. Yeah, I'm sure you did, Mom. I'm sure you did. Hey honey, can you come to my room and help me with the sexting? I'm really confused. Mom, what? Mom, seriously sexting? What? Oh, oops, I spelled it wrong. I meant texting. See, I need your help. And then the last one here for you Justin Bieber fans. This is a video I want to talk to you in regards to sexting. It's a great example. It's a little dated, but not by its content, but by the actual, well, you'll be able to see in a second. But it's an excellent video that shows the dangers of sexting. Uh-oh. Right?
Check this out. Whoa! Oh man! Let me send that to you real quick. I'm not gonna. Come on, send that to me. Dude, hold that. First screen. Look at that. Wow, check that out, boys. I gotta. I have to send this to Mark.
There we go. So, obviously you can see he was made with two choices. One choice, no, I'm not going to do that, participate in that. The other choice means that once you make that choice, there are no more choices for you to make. Other people make those choices for you. And this happens all the time. I can tell you, it was last year that we had a very large issue with this in Brevard County. And it was actually throughout the state of girls sending photographs, and guys sending photographs to girls. And they would set up these sites on Instagram, on Twitter, with a provocative name, and they would show all the girls of, let's say, Heritage High School or Palm Bay High School. And that could be very humiliating. I imagine it's very. There are some girls who are like, yeah, I don't care. You know. But for the most part, think about how it is for the parents. It's very humiliating as a child, as a parent, you know, and as a student. The definition of sexting or sex texting is the sending or receiving of sexual explicit or sexually suggestive images, messages, or video by cell phone or internet. Some examples of sexting are nude or nearly nude photos or selfies, videos that show nudity, sex acts, or simulated sex, text messages that propose sex or refer to sex acts. In the state of Florida, they just passed a new law, a new sexting law, and it's under 847. And the first offense is a non-criminal violation. Means that you either have a promise that you need to go to court, or you have 8 hours of community service and a $60 fine, very similar to what we have in the state of the tobacco fine. If a student's caught with tobacco, any tobacco product, e-cigarette, they get the very similar, they'll get a citation and they'll have to either go to court or they'll have to pay a fine. In Brevard County, we're working on the best way to kind of handle that, either through crosswinds or actually through the legal system. The second offense is a first-degree misdemeanor, and the third offense is a third-degree felony. These penalties can be very steep. When you start talking about felonies in youth, these things, you think they disappeared, but when you have to apply for a job application, they say, have you ever been, convicted or charged with a felony? This is ever. If you want to be a police officer one day and you've been charged with a felony, you have to omit those things because they're going to find out. And so the key is not, for one, as students, we don't want to take these pictures, period. All right? We don't want to make this, we don't even want to make it a possibility. As parents, we want to make sure that we're encouraging students not to do these things and being mindful. We're going to get into a lot of that too. Why do students do it? They get the attention of the other person, the guy or girl. It's seen as popular or cool. Pressure from others. The Amanda Todd story. Anybody ever heard of the Amanda Todd story before? Okay. Amanda Todd was a 14-year-old girl, very beautiful girl, and she made the mistake of having a video chat with somebody she didn't know one night, and she exposed her breast. Some time had gone on, and this person had contacted her and was asking her for more pictures. And she refused. And so this person sent these pictures out and humiliated her. She began to get bullied at school. They were teasing her online. And she was becoming really depressed and having anxiety. She was really having a real hard time with this, as you can imagine. And so she, at one point, tried to commit suicide. She tried to drink a bunch of bleach and kill herself because of this one incident. Now, she was not as successful that time, and so her parents moved her, got her to a different school, and this person had changed their identity online and again found her. And we're sending these photos online to her classmates in school. And again, she was having these same feelings, same things. She's being teased. And she made the mistake once of going to this boy's house and having sex with him while his girlfriend was out of town. And when they came back to school, the girlfriend confronted her and basically beat her up really bad and left her kind of in a ditch. Her dad came and found her laying in a ditch, beat up. And so she took her home and she was having all these issues. It was so bad that the police actually came to her house and said, you know what, these photos are circulating about you. I want you to make sure you're aware of that, Mom and Dad, and that, she's getting some things she needs, counseling and so forth. Well, she basically couldn't take it anymore. And one day, she started telling her story through flashcards about bullying and the experiences that she's had and the things that had happened to her. And a few hours later, after she had done that, she committed suicide. Now, we don't ever want this to happen. This is a parent's worst nightmare. This is my worst nightmare as a parent and as a law enforcement officer, to experience this at all. To know that this has happened breaks my heart, and I'm sure yours. What is sextortion? Anybody ever heard of the word sextortion before? Okay. I have a little video explaining what sextortion is.
What is sextortion?
What is sextortion?
What is sextortion? Sextortion.
Sextortion?
Extortion related to sex-related crimes.
Sex for, not for money.
To favors for sex, which makes me think this is a new word for sexual harassment.
Okay, so the question is, what is sextortion? I've never heard that word before. What is sextortion? Somebody kind of blackmailing somebody for sexual favors.
Sextortion to me would be someone who's forced against their will to perform sexual acts or like blackmailing them for sexual favors.
Sextortion is a serious crime that occurs when someone threatens to distribute your private and sensitive material if you don't provide them images of a sexual nature, sexual favors, or money. The perpetrator may also threaten to harm your friends or relatives by using information they have obtained from your electronic devices unless you comply with their demands. I am a special agent with the FBI and I investigate violent crimes against children. I want you to know that sextortion can have devastating effects on young victims from all walks of life, and it is easy to become a victim. Online perpetrators might gain your trust by pretending to be someone they are not. They lurk in chat rooms and record young people who post or live stream sexually explicit images and videos of themselves, or they may hack into your electronic devices using malware to gain access to your files and control your web camera and microphone without you knowing it. Here are some things you can do to avoid becoming a victim. Never send compromising images of yourself to anyone, no matter who they are or who they say they are. Do not open attachments from people you do not know. Turn off your electronic devices and web cameras when you're not using them. If you are receiving sextortion threats, you are not alone. It is likely the perpetrator is an adult pretending to be a teenager, and you are just one of the many victims being targeted by the same person. Do not be afraid to talk to an adult and to call the FBI. Help us find these criminals and stop them from damaging young lives. If you believe you're a victim of sextortion or know someone else who is, call your local FBI office or toll free at 1-800-CALL-FBI.
A lot of us can see this video and think, well, it's the FBI, it's one of those issues, well, I'll never have to deal with it because it's such a large issue. It has nothing to do with the state of Florida specifically, or even the fact that it has to do with our county or even locally here. I'm going to tell you it does. And I'm going to tell you about a man named Lucas Michael Chancellor. He lived not even about an hour and a half from Brevard County. And I'll just tell you that he is spending the rest of his life in prison. He sextorted approximately over almost 200 people. He was charged with over 102 counts of sextortion, where he would impersonate a young student, boy or girl both, have multiple social media accounts, and would say, hey, I just want you to know there are pictures floating out there about you exposing yourself, and I want you to know that I'm going to share them with your family and your friends unless you send me more pictures. How many think, no, my child wouldn't do that? We'd hope, right? We'd hope. But the reality is that, the fear that student thinks in that moment is like, wow, I don't know where they got them from or who took them, but I sure as heck don't want them getting out. So I better do what this person says, otherwise I'm going to be humiliated. And that's the reality. That's the wolf. Most phones, most devices have GPS attached to them. All your phones do. Whether you allow the rest of the world to know where you are is different. So you need to make sure when your devices that you have, and also your students, that the GPS is turned off. Apps that use the GPS, that they don't have access to it, you say no. You set the settings and say no, I don't want you to have access to my location. I'll tell you right now, does that look familiar? Anybody? I'll tell you, this over here is Meadow Lane Primary. This over here is Meadow Lane Intermediate. And this over here is Central Middle School. That is a picture of two students from this school who posted during school hours that I was able to find. They had their GPS location on, and I'm able to find them. So if I'm able to find them, who else do you think is able to find them? Pictures of your children. All because we don't set the security measures on our phones and our devices and our social media networks. This is a video I want to show you.